Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a professional, not your professional. Nothing I'm about to say should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. Disclaimer over. So I thought I'd talk today a bit about what I don't know about sleep. And I've done sleep episodes in the past, but I thought today we'd talk a little bit about the sleep hygiene protocol that Marsha Linehan has in her DBT skills training handouts and worksheets, second edition. So this is on page 259 if you want to follow along. It's an emotional regulation handout 20B, and it says when you can't sleep, what to do instead of ruminating. So ruminating is when we just get stuck in that thought pattern, going over and over things again and again, and it's really hard to break that cycle. So to increase the likelihood of restfulness/sleep, there are 6 things you can do. And I'll give you a list of 14 things that you can do overall for the sleep hygiene protocol. But number 1 is develop and follow a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. Go to bed and get up at the same times each day and avoid anything longer than like a 10-minute nap during the day. Number 2, do not use your bed in the daytime for things like watching TV, talking on the phone, or reading. So if you use those things in your bed, your body gets confused. So don't use those things in your bed. Number 3, avoid caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, heavy meals, and exercise late in the day before going to sleep. All those things can make you more awake. Number 4, when prepared to sleep, turn off the light, keep the room quiet and the temperature comfortable and relatively cool. Try an electric blanket if you're getting cold, putting your feet outside of the blanket and or turning a fan directed at your bed if you're hot, or wearing a sleeping mask, using earplugs, or turning on a white noise machine can be helpful if needed. I just turn on Netflix and turn off the video. It works just as well. Number 5, give yourself half an hour to an hour at most to fall asleep. If it doesn't work, evaluate whether you're calm, anxious, even if it's only like background anxiety or ruminating. Number 6, do not, easier said than done, okay, do not catastrophize. Remind yourself that you need to rest, aim for a reverie like dreaminess, and resting your brain. Sell yourself on the idea that staying awake is not a catastrophe. Do not decide to give up on sleeping for the night and go ahead and get up for the day. Now, if you're calm but wide awake, there's a couple things you can do. First, which is number 7 of the 14, is get out of bed, go to another room, and read a book or do some other activity that will not wake you up further. So you don't want something that you're fully engaged in because then it's going to wake you up more. But a boring book or something can be really helpful. And then as you begin to get tired or sleepy, go back to bed. All right. And the other thing you can do is try a light snack. And I emphasize the word light, like an apple. Now, if you're anxious or ruminating, number 9 says that you can use the cold water tip skill. So get right back into bed and do the paced breathing of the tip skill. So TIP stands for temperature, intense exercise, and paced breathing. So it's just saying to do the first part, the temperature, ice cold water, put it on your face for a few seconds. Don't hurt yourself, no more than like 10 or 15 seconds. And then go ahead and do the P part of TIP, which is the paced breathing. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out. If your stomach is getting bigger when you breathe in, you're doing it right. And remember, if you have any medical condition, get medical approval before using ice water. Number 10, try the 9 to 0 meditation practice. So what this is you breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly, saying in your mind the number 9. On the next breath out, say 8 and say 7 and so on until you breathe out saying 0. Then start it over. But this time, start with the number 8 instead of the number 9 as you breathe out, followed by 7 and so on until you reach 0. Next, start with 6 as you breathe out and so on to 0. Then start with 5, then with 4, and so on until you've gone all the way down to the starting with 1. If you ever get lost, start over with the last number that you remember. Continue until you fall asleep. Number 11, focus on the bodily sensation of rumination. So rumination is often escape from difficult emotional sensations. So if you focus on whether or not you're tense or hot or cold or clenched, those kind of things, if you notice them, can sometimes shift them. Number 12, reassure yourself that worries in the middle of the night are just middle of the night thinking, and then in the morning you will think and feel differently. Number 13, read an emotionally engrossing novel for a few minutes until you feel somewhat tired, and stop reading, close your eyes, and try to continue the novel in your head. Number 14, if rumination doesn't stop, follow these guidelines. Quote, if it's solvable, solve it. If it's insolvable, go deep into the worry all the way to the catastrophe. I know that sounds weird, but the very worst possible outcome you can imagine, and then imagine coping ahead with that catastrophe. That's the part that most people don't do. Most people can think of worst case scenario, this, that, and the other that could happen. But a lot of people don't do that second part, which is imagining coping through it, surviving through it, and coming out the other side okay. Now, if nothing else works, with your eyes closed, listen to some boring public radio at a low volume. Use your headphones if you want. Public radio is a good choice for this because there is little fluctuation in voice tone or volume. Whereas my voice, you notice sometimes it stays the same and sometimes it fluctuates drastically. So I can make my voice do all sorts of things. And so you want something much more boring to really focus on and not focus on at the same time so that you're able to get some sleep. So I do hope that you enjoyed this information about sleep hygiene protocol, when you can't sleep, what to do instead of ruminating. And if you want to support the show, you can click the button on the website. Remember, I appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing.